let's talk about the Met Gala. Because, of course, the Met Gala is amongst us. The Met Gala is very, very soon, and everyone is talking about it, of course. What is going to happen? What will the looks look like? What is a black dandy? All these kind of things. And I've really enjoyed the discourse around the Met Gala. I've actually noticed the discourse around this Met Gala seems to be a lot more intellectual than I've seen in the past. A lot of people are really reading books, referencing books about dandyism and black dandyism, and really looking at the history of black dress and stuff and referencing that. It's way more intellectual than I've ever seen discourse around the Met Gala before. So that's obviously a positive thing. And for people that don't know, the Met Gala exhibit, well, not Met Gala, but the Met exhibit is on Superfine, Tailoring Black Style. And the theme, that's a theme for the Met Gala, but it's also going to kind of inform what we see at the exhibit. And the theme is actually, I think it draws inspiration from Monica L. Miller's book, which is called Slaves to Fashion, Black Dandyism and the Styling of Black Diasporic Identity. She's also a guest curator, I believe, for the Met exhibit. So that should be amazing. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how exactly the Met exhibit looks like. I think there are certain people that if they aren't featured, it's kind of like a big shame. You know, people like Anjali Antali, who to me is like the black dandy. People like Dapper Dan, people like Oswald Boateng, literally like bringing crazy colored suits to Savile Row and like these really skinny lapels and skinny silhouettes to Savile Row, and bringing African print into British tailoring on Savile Row once again. So I think of people like Oswald Boateng and stuff like that. So there's so many directions they can go in. They can go through historical references. They can talk about tailoring through the years as far as black style goes, things like the zoot suits, jazz, different subcultures. So yeah, there's a lot they can do. And I was happy that they had a guest curator, because I wouldn't trust, not that I'm a fan of Andrew Bolton, but I wouldn't trust Andrew Bolton to have the exact range to do a whole exhibition about black style and black historical style. I just wouldn't expect him to have that range. So I'm very happy that they've invited a guest curator who actually has expertise in that. So that's something that I've been very, very positive about. Of course, as you guys probably know, this year's Met Gala will be co-chaired by Common Domingo, Lewis Hamilton, A$AP Rocky, Pharrell Williams, and Anna Wintour. And I think LeBron James is an honorary chair, which would be cool. We've also seen, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk about, the Vogue cover story, which I thought was also very interesting. I mean, Vogue is a shell of itself these days. However, from time to time, they have really interesting cover stories. It isn't just the Jenners or the Kardashians in the most stale fashion outfit you've ever seen in your life. And the articles are basically meaningless because they only talk about celebrity fashion that no one that actually cares about fashion or style really cares about. But their rollout of this Met Gala has been absolutely insane. I've loved the imagery. I've loved the videography. I love who they're working with. It's been great. And even the interviews they've done around it, the panels that have been done around it have been all fantastic, to be honest. So I have to give Vogue their props with that one. I think that it's really, really been great. John says, I feel maybe people will be on theme this year. I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. If you're going to be on theme, this would be the year. It's also easier to do, especially for men, because a lot of men just wear, you know, plain black tuxedos and a bow tie, which is so boring. It's like you wear that to every, you know, black tie event. You wear that to every gala you go to. Why not just switch it up for the Met Gala? Like, why not? So I hope that, you know, especially the men that don't really put a lot of effort into their outfits, this is the one chance that they have. Wear that weirdly colored suit, you know. Show us some historical references to a black dandy that we never heard of before. Like, do some research. Show us some interesting references. I personally like the wide 70s style dramatic lapels, but some skinny lapels. Yeah, I think you're referring to when I was talking about Oswald Boateng. So I'm not actually a personal fan of Oswald Boateng's silhouette. I think my build makes skinny suits and suits with skinny lapels look very ridiculous on me. So I wouldn't wear an Oswald Boateng suit, but I love him as a designer. And I'm a huge fan. And I think he's very influential and I can recognize his impact, even if I wouldn't wear it personally. But yeah, I'm more of like a traditional British boxy silhouette, wider lapels, wider trousers kind of guy. Rachel says, I'm actually excited to see them in this year. Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's never hard to be on theme at all, but so often they aren't. I always wonder why they aren't, because like, why not? It's one day, it's the Met Gala. You're already sponsored. Almost everyone is sponsored by a brand or is there via a brand. So just tap into the brand and tap into the designers and stuff. I've never understood, people going to the Met Gala and not trying. I will never get that. I'm expecting a lot of West African influence. That would be cool, though. That would be very, very cool. I think West Africa, there are a lot of dandies there. Loads of dandies. You also have, of course, this is not so much West Africa. This is more like Central Africa. But when you think of like Congo, for example, Congo and their whole subcultures that they have, the Sapers, I think a lot of people might touch on that. A lot of people, and that would be really cool to watch and see how people reinterpret that. I've seen a lot of people finding out about the Sapers, which is cool, and finding out that there's actually a group of Congolese people that are Yoji fans and they're really, really into Yoji. Then there's another side that are really into like British tailoring and these subsections of people in Congo that are into very specific things. There's even subsectors that are into like very niche footwear that they wear with their suits and stuff. It's so cool. Okay, Lucas is asking, do you think people will touch on it? Yeah, I definitely think people will touch on it because it's obvious, right? When you think of the most obvious things, you think of like the Dapper Dans and maybe not so much Oswald Boateng, because I feel like most of the people going there are more like Black American, really influential Black American figures. So maybe they won't be as influenced by Oswald Boateng, but definitely people like Dapper Dan, Andrew Leon Talley, potentially, and that sort of stuff. I think we should put more blame on the brands for celebs not being on theme. Interesting. Whose fault is it when celebs are not on theme? Is it the brand or is it the celebrity? I'd like to know what you guys think. Which one is it? I think it's both, to be honest. I think it's both. Black Dandy is New York City and African American. I wouldn't say that. I think that there's, Black Dandyism across the world. So there's definitely a strong Black Dandyism, in the US, and that is African American, but there's like obviously an African side to Black Dandyism. There's a Black British side. Because when you think of historically, even like white dandies, right? Where they from, a lot of them were British. So then a lot of Black Brits adopted what they were seeing and made it their own and infused their own like West African culture and Caribbean culture in the UK to form like a Black dandyism subculture. So yeah, I wouldn't just say it's African American. There's blackness is not a monolith, right? There's blackness all across the world, each with their own, cultures and subcultures and references and influences. But I think all of it is valid. All of it is definitely valid. Thea says the American South is heavily Black dandyism. Maybe people reference the Harlem Renaissance. Oh, that would be interesting, actually. That would be interesting. I think brands more so because sometimes the celebs only get a few options the brand gives them to choose from. If you're sponsored by a brand, at least. Okay, that's true. That's true. That definitely is true. Yeah, Andre Leon Talley is not the only Black dandy, but I think he's a very influential one, to be honest. For sure. He said, then you're wrong. Black dandy is across the world, but is NYC and African American. Others are inspired by NYC and African American. To know that is to know why Black dandy is even a thing. No, that's not true. It's not true. Don't get me wrong. So I just don't like when people do a whole it only comes from this place and that's it. African American dandyism and just culture in general is extremely influential, by the way, like extremely influential. It's copied by a lot of people. It influences a lot of people. It influences a lot of brands. It kind of is like the standard in terms of like pop culture and that sort of stuff. But historically, if you just look at the history and where the dandies, like white dandies, for example, were from, and then you think of Black people adopting it, none of that comes from the US. So what I'm saying is there are different things happening simultaneously. So you had like in the US, African Americans building their own Black dandyism there. Then you had Africans in Africa doing it. You had Black Brits in Britain doing it in their own different way. It's not a one size fits all thing. Also, yes, Fashion and Jazz is a great book that I've read. And I gave, for guys that don't know in the live stream, Ceci is one of my good friends. And she has read, I gave her my book to read, the Fashion and Jazz book, which was really cool. And we had a discussion about it, which was fun. But yeah, so yeah, I push back against everything only coming from New York. That's crazy. Saying that black dandyism only comes from New York is absolutely insane, to be very honest with you. I think he epitomized everything about black dandyism: the upward social mobility, the cultivation of historical knowledge, arts and culture, the discernment in taste, the 18th century, etc. So sad. Are you talking about Angie Leon Talley? I would agree with you, though. I definitely would agree with you. Have you guys seen that clip where Angie Leon Talley was like, I think was it Oxford? Or was it Cambridge, where he was essentially telling someone that they dress really well. But the way he described it, I actually loved it. The way Angie Leon Talley talks about fashion is always so good. The way he talks about it is so nice. Like you just feel like you want to work in fashion when you hear him talk about fashion, to be honest. I absolutely love the way he speaks. There's a famine of beauty, for sure. No, I love Angie Leon Talley.
Let me see, please. Hello, I love your red coat. Stand up, darling. First of all, you're very fashionable, I think.
Thank
Come
you.
over here, let me see, please. Yes, very. Oh, you're ahead of the curve. Oh, darling. Oh, you are way ahead of the curve. Oh, you are way ahead of the curve. You want to know why? You got flat shoes on. Thank God.
Yes, not so much into the heels.
Oh, and the belted mohair coat and the whole thing. You are way ahead of. I wish people dressed like that in Hollywood.
Thank you.
You look wonderful. I love your look.
Thank
It's
you.
very sophisticated American, very society lady of America.
Thank you.
You're doing it. The plaid shirt, it's very, very creative.
Thank you.
The earrings, the glasses, turn around. Take notice, people. Take notice. Hair, everything. Yes. Where's that coat?
It's actually my great aunt's vintage sort of.
Perfect. Perfect. You're perfect, darling. I'd say you're the best dressed person in the room. There are a lot of best dressed people here.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I found that really interesting. AP is still arguing that dandyism is only African American. Look, AP, one of the tenets of dandyism, right, is like tailoring. Like for men, dandyism, tailoring is like very inherent. And the style of tailoring that is, closely associated with dandyism is Western in nature. So do you not think that Black people in these countries where tailoring is very historic, I'm talking places like Italy, places like France, places like the UK, do you think that the Black people there did not adopt any of that and make any Black dandyism movement? Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't even know what to tell you at that point. Exactly. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is also true. You can't beat his enthusiasm and vocabulary. Shout out to Andrew Leon Talley, absolute legend. Complete and utter legend. Like I actually love him so much, even though I never knew him personally. There was a great article that you guys should check out. I'm not going to read it, but on Andrew Leon Talley just being a dandy and showing like a lot of his looks. That was really cool. So you guys in your own time definitely look through this, but just to see some of his looks over the years. So cool. Yves Saint Laurent. Like he was a pure dandy. So I saw someone in the chat say Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank is a very good example, by the way. An extremely good example. Really, really good example. Let's see. Cubanism and fashion, rock style. I also like, the thing about Angie Leon Talley, he had so much range. So much range. And also, Angie Leon Talley is living proof because there seems to be this thing that, you have to be really skinny to look good in outfits and stuff. When for a lot of Andre's life, not only was he not skinny, he's huge. Like, how tall is Angie Leon Talley? Isn't he like 6'7" or something? That man is tall. So he made it work. If he can make it work, anyone can make it work. Granted, Andrew Leon Talley's taste level was extremely high. So, I mean, you have to adopt that somewhere along the line, but it just shows. House of Chanel. It's just so much fun to look through his looks and just see all the different things that he wore over the years. Oh yeah, this was China Through the Looking Glass. He's shown out all these different Met Gala years because obviously these are his outfits at different Met Galas, but like the man has been showing out. Meanwhile, a lot of the other men don't even like try most of the time, right? Rest in peace to a legend in Angie Leon Talley, honestly. Okay, someone is saying 6'6". Yeah, he was really tall. Extremely tall. Yeah, he did love John Galliano. He was a big John Galliano fan. I used to love the way he used to talk about John Galliano as well. It's like John Galliano is the thing. He's the stuff. The way Angie Leon Talley talks. It's very, I feel like Tim Blanks reminds me of Angie Leon Talley, the way Tim Blanks speaks about fashion. It's very, he was the wind at the stars, the film and the da-da-da-da-da, but it's very along those lines. They talk about fashion the same way. Imagine translating a kimono / kaftan into any theme and event, right? Right? In the Met Ball edition of Vogue, Anna dedicated her letter from the editor to Andre. I mean, he deserves it. He deserves it. He definitely deserves it, to be honest. Who else than him? Also, what you guys should check out, but you guys should really, if you're interested, look at some of the coverage via the Met's TikTok page. They've had some really, really good coverage about kind of the exhibit, explaining the theme themselves and stuff. It's been really, really good. I can actually show you guys some stuff here.
So these two ensembles, this Louis Vuitton and this Dapper Dan, are in the section of the exhibition called Cool, right? And in that part of the exhibition, we're really trying to say something about casual elegance, right? And also the politics of leisure. In the middle part of the 20th century, we really see Black musicians influencing masculine style, right? And also dress. So for example, this ensemble we're using to say a little bit about the dress of jazz musicians like Miles Davis, John Coltrane, right? To think about the ways in which they, for example, would replace a suit jacket sometimes with a beautiful kind of a ribbed cardigan and still look incredibly elegant and fashionable. Obviously, we're using Dapper Dan here to talk about the 1980s and the hip hop dandyism. This particular jacket was worn by Jam Master Jay and dates from around 1987. And Dan's style in general, in terms of his relationship to dandyism, right, was by using luxury logos to design jackets for hip hop stars and other people. So the dandyism that's present there might not always be in the silhouette, but is certainly in the style and also the attitude.
Yeah.
So these
because
two
dandyism is
ensembles,
not
this
just about
Louis
an
Vuitton and
aesthetic.
this Dapper Dan, are in the section
It's
of the
also
exhibition called
about
Cool.
dandyism is also about a sensibility. It's about a way of doing things. It's about, you know, a certain mindset. It's a way you carry yourself, right? So it's not just about kind of what you wear, which is why different things can be interpreted to dandyism. Yeah, let's see some more clips. I'm not gonna watch all of them, of course, but there's some really, really good stuff, like really good stuff. Like genuinely, just check out the Met Instagram page. It's so good. Like the content is really, really good.
The response has been really tremendous, right? I mean, people really are excited, I think, to come to the Met and to understand the story that we're trying to tell here about Black fashion and Black style, the way that it's a complicated story, right? One that's really based on the rhythm and the blues. So there are moments of joy and transcendence and beauty that are counterposed in the exhibition with moments that are a little bit more related to sort of like hard histories, right, of people in the Black diaspora. I am Monica Miller, and I am the guest curator for the Superfine Tailoring Black Style exhibition at the Met. Being a part of this exhibition has really meant for me an incredibly sort of imaginative and creative process. One of the most surprising things about translating my book into an exhibition has been really what to do about the sort of long historical frame. The book starts in the 18th century and ends in the present. So if we're thinking about how to add garments or how to center garments in that story, we really need to think about historical garments, and in particular garments that would have been worn by enslaved people. Finding those garments, right, and then making sure that we are presenting them in a way that is respectful and sensitive has really been a part of the exhibition that we've really thought a lot about and had the kind of, in some ways, the privilege, right, of caretaking for those objects. The response.
So yeah, Monica, of course, talking, and she's in many other videos explaining different aspects of how the exhibit is going to be. So honestly, really, really looking forward to it. I think this Met Gala has all the trappings of something that could be really amazing. I really hope they don't F it up. That would be a massive disaster considering everything that they could work with, but I'm guessing they won't. I'm guessing they won't. I also hope there'll be a good balance of, because I've already seen her talk about Dapper Dan and, you know, Angela Leontali and stuff, Virgil Abloh, but I also want to see a lot of historical things. Like, let's see what, you know, Black people were wearing centuries ago and who are the Black dandies from centuries ago, not just, you know, very, very recent 21st century sort of stuff. So we'll see what they do. We'll see how they do it. But honestly, looking forward to how they do the rollout. And I'm hoping that they don't bugger it all up. Something I want to show you is there was actually on Vogue Runway, they were asking different designers what they think makes a modern dandy, which was interesting to see kind of what different designers had to say about it. So Willie Chavaria says, a dandy is someone who presents a captivating external fashion identity, which supersedes any perception that could otherwise be interpreted as less than. It takes an embrace of one's own charisma and confidence. A dandy amplifies the character they wish to present publicly so that they are seen as the finest in the room, which is an interesting take. You have Ruben Toledo. What makes a dandy is their innate ability to create an atmosphere of voluptuous exactitude, a willingness to step out of the picture frame and be the walking, breathing art piece, to become both the object and the subject at the same time. This can manifest as minimal and silently provocative, or loud and jarringly intrusive, and all shades in between. It takes courage to become the art object, the conversation piece, but more than anything, it takes care for yourself and for your audience and the occasion. Dandyism is an excellent public performance. I definitely agree with that. I do think that, yeah, not all the time is dandyism like a public performance. Like, I think when people think of dandyism, they think of, they think of like out of the ordinary. That's why like we think of Chris Eubank, and I would say that he's a dandy, but it's more than that. There are people whose style is less, ostentatious, but they're still dandies. It's just not as, because ridiculous is not the right word, but you know what I mean, like in your face, if that makes sense. I just want to put some Chris Eubank stuff on the screen so you guys can see some of his outfits. Like this is typical Chris Eubank. AP study feeling the stereotype that Americans have no context of the outer world. It's okay to learn something new, challenge your perspective. Oh, is AP still arguing with people? Okay, IO doesn't have the scope of Black dandyism. There's way too many times a disconnect of understanding what we deal with here in the States, especially places like NYC and why. What? I literally said earlier that Black American culture is the most influential in the world. What are you talking about? How is there a disconnect of understanding what? What? I don't understand that, honestly. I was just saying that Black dandyism comes from all over the world, not just the US. That's all I was saying. It's not just a Black American thing. But Black American dandyism is extremely influential, probably more influential than Black dandyism from all over the world, to be honest. So, take it or leave it. If you want to believe that Black dandyism only comes from NYC, fair enough. You can believe that. Wait, what did Luke say about Chris Eubank? Wasn't Chris Eubank on a celeb like 10 years ago? Was he? I don't really watch shows like that, so I wouldn't really know. I wouldn't actually know, to be honest. Someone says shout out to the UK dandies. So, okay, guys, just to prove my point, I went on the Met website so I can just put this argument to bed. Only for you guys. So, let's see what is on the Met official website about Black dandyism. Bear in mind, the guest curator of this whole exhibit is someone that has literally written a book on Black dandyism in Monica L. Miller. So let's see what they say. Superfine Tailoring Black Style explores the importance of style to the formation of Black identities in the Atlantic diaspora, particularly in the United States and Europe. So they've already said it's all the Black identities in the diaspora, but particularly in the US and Europe. So already it's not just in the US. But reading on, through a presentation of garments and accessories, paintings, photographs, decorative art, and more from the 18th century to today, the exhibition interprets the concept of dandyism as both an aesthetic and a strategy that allowed for new social and political possibilities. So we've put it to bed. We've put it to bed. So if you don't think I'm right, then also you don't think the Met is correct, then I don't know what to say to you. Honestly, I honestly don't know what to say to you. But I can add some nuance since someone is claiming that I don't know what I'm talking about. So let me add some nuance. So one of the reasons why Black dandyism came to be is because Black people had to assimilate to European culture, which still happens now, right? We talk about this all the time when we talk about, like racism and stuff like that, right? So a lot of Black people had to assimilate to dandyism to kind of fit in and to be accepted. And that happens in any country where the dominant culture is European or white. So in the US, Black African Americans obviously had to assimilate in that way. In the UK now, do you know what percentage of Black people in the UK? 3%. So Black people had to assimilate the same way and, you know, be accepted into the mainstream culture. So assimilation doesn't just happen for Black people in the US. Like, the US is not the only place where Black people are a minority where they have to assimilate to a sort of white or European, you know, majority culture. Like, I just literally, God. But anyway, moving on. Let's read some more of these quotes before I lose my brain cells. Let's see what other designers had to say. Daniel Lee said, the modern dandy has swagger and presence in life and style. They give leading character energy. Interesting quote from Daniel Lee. Ib Kamara, what makes the modern dandy is, for me, confidence. To have self-belief and confidence in your own style is a reflection that you are being your authentic self. So in this way, being a dandy is an expression of being proudly yourself. Oh, Imani is saying, not even just the Met, but a woman who has literally studied this and been brought in as an authority on the subject because she wrote the damn book. Exactly. Oh my God. The assimilation came from here. It spreads due to resonating, as does hip hop. Y'all like this. Where did Black dandy come from is the thing. Oh my God. Wait, so you're telling me that Black people in the UK assimilated to white Americans when those are not the Americans that those are not the white people they're dealing with. They were dealing with white Brits. That doesn't even make logical sense. Like, if you sit down and think about that for a second, it literally makes no sense. It makes no sense. I said we lack discernment. That's crazy. You've decided not to take the information from the experts. If you want to agree that I'm not an expert on the case, we've looked at the Met that is being curated by someone who is an expert in this whole conversation, right? So if you don't want to believe me, believe someone who's even way more of an expert than I could ever be on this topic. And they've clearly said that it's the whole Black diaspora, specifically Europe and the US. They literally said it. So, you know, if you want to argue wrongly, if you want to be loud and wrong, as they say, you can be loud and wrong. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club, where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.